Good morning, friends. Today we are going to learn a short story by Ruskin Bond. The title of this short story is A Job Well Done. Before to start a short story, we will see the writings and features of Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond, born May 1934, and he is an Indian author of British descent. He lives with his adopted family in Landur, Mysore, and so many Dehra and so many places in India. The Indian Council for Child Education has recognized his role in the growth of children's literature in India. He was awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award in 1992 for his novel Our Trees Still Grow in Dehra. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 1999 and the Padma Bhushan in 2014. Most of his writings show a strong influence from the social life in the hill station at foothills of the Himalayas where he spent his childhood. His writings reflect a genuine simplicity devoid of all elderly prejudices which can crop up as humans grow in their native surroundings. It will not be difficult to really classify him as a saint among writers. Through his writings, Ruskin cleverly opens his readers' eyes to a more mature and moralistic perspective of the world. It was said of Coleridge that he demystified and made simple and understandable the use of blank verse in poetry. Ruskin Bond truly epitomizes the message set forth by the poet Wordsworth in his preface to the Lyrical Ballads. His writings are poetic yet simple, easily comprehensible, and flow like a silvery stream over the vast expanse of the desert, like literature that seems to have grown all around us. He is considered to be an icon among Indian writers and children's authors. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 1999 for contributions to children's literature. He was born towards the end of the British Raj. A somewhat lonely childhood marked by his parents' divorce and his mother's remarriage. His father had died in 1944 during World War II when Ruskin was 10, and he was raised by his mother, stepfather, and other relatives. For a while, he attended Hampton Court School. So, this is the introduction of this Indian writer Ruskin Bond. We did not go through in his biography, but we come to know that in his childhood he lost his father. And what happened? His mother remarriage. He got a stepfather. That stepfather was not so kind to him as his father. And the same thing Ruskin Bond has presented in the present story. What is the title of this present story? The title of this present story is A Job Well Done. Is a job well done. The title of this story is A Job Well Done. And what is there in this story? I will explain you in a short way. A Job Well Done is a story written by Ruskin Bond, and in this story there is a small, we can say a small boy, just 8-year old. His name is not given, but the character who is a gardener in this story called him Baba. So in this story, A Job Well Done, there is one boy. That boy is just 8-year old. His father is died. He has lost his father. We can say his father is no more for him. And his mother, who remarried to another person, Sahib. So what happened? That stepfather was not treating that 8-year-old boy properly. One thing, that boy is in the state of terror. That boy is in the state of fear. That boy is in the state of, what we can say, in the state of horror. He is not comfortable. He is not, what we can say, satisfied. He is, what we can say, growing up with so many prejudices in this story, because he doesn't like the act of his mother as well as his new father or a stepfather. That stepfather, I will tell you the name of that character later on, but that stepfather always control him. He always stop him. That boy want to be free. He wants to be live life natural. He wants to read a book a lot. He wants to wander in the garden. Who? That boy, 8 years old boy. He wants to wander in the garden. He wants to eat a lot of mangoes in the garden. He wants to spend his time by watching all the animals and, what we can say, the birds in the garden. As well as he has a fond of reading. But what happened? His father doesn't like it. His father removed all the books he liked to read. Who? That boy likes to read. His father restricted the boy, stepfather. That stepfather wants the boy to learn a riding lesson. But boy don't like all these things. So such kind of boy, his name is not given in the story, is the narrator of the story. The story is told from the first person point of view, or we can say from the perspective of this young boy. From the perspective of this young boy who narrates us the incidents. Who? That young boy. We have seen in the introduction of this author, Ruskin Bond, in his own life also, has lost his father in his childhood. We know his mother remarries to another person, and maybe this story has some autobiographical instances or events. This story has the same events that happened in the life of Ruskin Bond. Maybe, we are not sure, but author has presented all these things through the young boy. So, it's probably the next character in this story that is also very much important to give the themes to the story, to develop the plot of the story, is Dhuki. Who is the next character? Dhuki. 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 Dukhi. Dhuki. Who is the next character? Dhuki. Dhuki. Dhuki is an old person who is a gardener appointed by the Sahib, who work in the garden. We come to know he is a hard worker, but apart from that hard work, he is devoted to that boy. He called that boy, 8-year young boy, Baba. There is what we can say, a connection, a bond between these two characters, a relational bond between these two characters. We know the young boy has lost his father, but the same affection he has towards his gardener, and that gardener is Dhuki. Dhuki work throughout this story silently under the control of that Sahib, but also at the level of emotion, he support that young boy. He play a role of father in the story. Worker, he is a servant, but still he play the role of father in the story. Dhuki, as a gardener, work hard, and when the story open, we come to know that the stepfather of the boy, his name is Summer Silk. His name is Summer Silk, who just have left the house. He has gone somewhere as his duty. For 2 months, he was not there at the house. But that stepfather have given work to the Dhuki, what we can say, to finish the well. There was a well in that garden, and that well who that stepfather doesn't like. He wants to remove the well, and Dhuki doesn't want that. The reason is that Dhuki was a gardener. He was appointed by the earlier owner or Sahib, who is the real father of this boy, who has a free nature, who is a real human being, who support this Dhuki as well as who tender his boy. He also means that earlier Sahib also loved his wife. That family was happy family. Dhuki thoughts the father of that boy have given so many things, too much to the Dhuki, and that's why he didn't leave the job after his death. But as a compensation, we can say as a real reply or service or donation to that person, he works there for his wife and his children. Who? Gardener, Dhuki. He works there. He didn't leave the job. He is now old. But that lady, the mother of boy, also keeping him. Boy also like him. But the present Sahib, Major, doesn't like him. He always shouted at him, teases him, said him, you are the old now and you should resign. You are not able to work now. In that way, he always insult that old person, Dhuki. What happened? After 2 months have passed, that Sahib, that Major, have came back. The boy was playing in the garden. He was on the tree. The Mem Sahib was in the market. She was there to shop something. This Major have come back with tanga. He brings so many bags. He was in the search of Dhuki. Dhuki comes suddenly, handles the bag and put them in the house. That Sahib was asking so many things. Where is the Mem Sahib? Where is the cook boy? What have you done in this garden? Have you finished that well? All these things. And that old person, that gardener, was so upset. He was so terrified. He was in the state of horror. He was shivering. He does not know what to do. But he was replying, giving reasons and reasons to every work assigned by that Major. So what happened? At the last, he comes near the well, and he was shouting at the gardener, but gardener gives the reply that in that well there is something, and that Major was looking down. What is that? At the last, that Major fall down in the well, and that have seen by the boy. But boy remains silent, and within a time, what we can say, within an hour, Dukhi has finished that well. He has buried that well. He has made that a surface, and that Major is buried or murdered by the gardener, and that have seen by the boy. But the boy did not tell it to anyone. So this is a short but sweet story, a job well done. Now we will see the introduction of the story. In the story, the author narrates an incident of murder and cover up with a sleazy matter of fact tone, written from the perspective of a young boy who doesn't like his stepfather much. The story tells us how Dhuki, the gardener, manages to murder the major, and both boy and gardener are complicit in covering it up. What? That well, because they have buried the measure into the well. It is written in bond. It is written in Bond's inimitable style and is deceptively simple. What? This story. So this is the introduction of this story. Now we will move towards the summary of this story. See, what is the summary? In a job well done by Ruskin Bond, we have the theme of connection. What is connection? A bond between a father and a son, but there is no father. A bond between a gardener and a boy. There is also a conflict. The conflict is there in the mind of that boy. He doesn't like his stepfather. There is also a conflict between an owner and a servant. Dukhi. Dukhi and a owner is summer silk. So there is a conflict. There is a fear in the mind of both, or we can say all the character except summer silk, because summer silk is a controller. He is a dominant one in this story. So all the characters, his wife means the mother of boy himself, and Duki, all of them are in a state of fear and terror. That summer silk control, so the control is also one of the main theme in this short story. Freedom. Who wants the freedom? That the boy and that lady. Also we can say Dhuki. All of them wants the freedom. They want to live a natural life. So the freedom is also one of the main theme in this story. Their freedom is controlled by summer silk. Revenge is also one of the main theme in the story, and that revenge is taken by Dhuki and that young boy at the end of the story by killing, or what we can say, by burying that major into the well. So these are the main themes of this short story, taken from his collected, means the story is taken from his collected short stories collection. The story is narrated in the first person, we know that, by a man, not a man, by a young man, by a young boy who is looking back, means he always look back, and nostalgic incidents are there in the story. So where he looks back towards his earlier father, and he compared his father to his present stepfather. So looking back at a period in his life when he was 8 years old, when he was 8 years old. From the beginning of the story, the reader can see that the narrator has a strong bond or connection with Dhuki. Dhuki is a gardener, servant. It is as though the narrator lacks a father figure in his life, means narrator, that boy does not have a father, so he took, what we can say, the help as a father from that servant. Father figure in his life that he can look up to, and as such spends a lot of his time with Dhuki. Summer silk. Summer silk is one of the cruelest, what we can say, a cruel character who do not have a mannerism. So Summer silk, believing that the narrator, means that boy, is too soft. See, who said the boy or narrator is a too soft? Summer silk. And as such, the narrator has strained relationship with Summer silk. He gives such comment to his wife to please her, but actually in reality, Summer silk treated that narrator or a young boy badly. If anything, it is also possible that the narrator and his mother, narrator's mother, are afraid of Summer silk and the routine he believes one should adhere to. Because we know Summer silk is a major, a military man, and he believes in discipline. He believes in, what we can say, a decided routine. But that routine and disciplines are, what we can say, restrictions to all the other characters in this story. The narrator's mother doesn't appear to have any control over her life, because we know at the end of this story she married third time to, what we can say, a wealthiest people. So we come to know through the story her nature. She is not fond of her boy, we can say. Actually, it is not my statement. Something that is noticeable when Dhuki pleads with her to save the whale, but she follows Summer silk instructions. So, why she follows Summer silk instruction? Because she is afraid of him. She knows Summer silk's nature, and that's why she does not want to go against Summer silk's will, because she knows the effect of that. In order to maintain the peace and not upset Summer silk, it may also be a case that the well symbolizes the past for both Dhuki and the narrator. With Dhuki remembering how much the narrator's father liked to sit by the well and draw. When we go through the story, that time we come to know that narrator's own father, was fond of spending evening on the well by sitting side on the well. He always reads books by sitting on the well. And all these things come to know to that young boy through Dhuki. His mother didn't tell anything. But Dhuki, who is spending his most of the time with that boy, always telling his memories of earlier owner or the father of that boy, Summer Silk. And that's why this whale also symbolize what we can say the past memory of both character, the boy and Dhuki, the gardener. Summer Silk, on the other hand, has no use for the whale. Summer Silk does not like the whale. He might have known, he may have know about the earlier owner of that whale, so that he wants to bury that whale. He sees it as a blight on the landscape and as such wants it removed. A comparison between both Summer Silk and the narrator's father might also be relevant. Summer Silk is a soldier who believes in order and routine, who believes in discipline, who has a strict nature, who never, what we can say, act with his emotion in that way. But in this story, he is presented rather badly, we can say rather a crude person. While the narrator's father appears to have allowed the narrator to live a free life. Narrator's father provide whatever narrator wants. He provide books to him to read. He never controls the boy, one in which he could learn for himself through reading. He was also well liked and respected by Dhuki, and on his death, Dhuki decided that out of a sense of respect or a duty to the narrator's mother. So that Dhuki did not left the family. After the owner of this family had changed, he continued his service to the boy and that lady as a token of respect to two earlier owner. He would continue to work for her as he had for the narrator's father. Though Dhuki pushes Summer Silk into the well, he does appear to be a good influence on the narrator, who push Summer Silk into the well. That gardener who saw that boy saw that boy knows everything, but still boy likes Dhuki, that gardener. He keeps him grounded, and both not only have a connection with one another, but the reader suspects that both Dhuki and the narrator respect one another too. Something that is clear to the reader by the fact that the narrator does not tell anybody that he saw Dhuki push Summer Silk into the well. Life, if anything, becomes easier for the narrator. No longer does he have to live under Summer Silk's rule, and in time it is noticeable that the narrator's mother begins courting again. Means after the death of that major, narrator's mother started another affair to another person. It was her nature. She couldn't control her nature. This time with a man that Dhuki considers to be more appropriate than Summer Silk. But this person, the next person, is a good one. He has a good nature. He is a human being. In many ways, the story is an example of those who are suppressed, beating those who are in authority. Neither Dukhi nor the narrator had the same sense of freedom that they had when the narrator's father was alive. In comparison to the time they both spent under the authoritarian control of Samarsilk, the narrator in particular was the most affected by Samarsilk's marriage to his mother. Summersilk, rather than allowing the narrator to progress as he would like to, chose instead to ensure that the narrator acted more like a man in Summersilk's eyes and got riding lessons. The reader, aware that the direction Summersilk wished to take the narrator was one in which the narrator would join the army, something which would have broken the free spirit that the narrator possesses. Though some critics might suggest that Dhuki is a murderer and should be charged for killing Samarsilk. Bond may in fact, Ruskin Bond may in fact be highlighting how far an individual, particularly an individual who is free spirited, will go in order for their life to remain as they would like it to. Dhuki liked the whale and as such was not prepared to follow Summersilk's instruction to bury that whale. This, along with other things like how Summersilk treated the narrator and his mother, led to Dhuki pushing Summersilk into the well. It is as though Dhuki is getting revenge and at the same time ensuring that the status quo that existed during the narrator's father's time returns. Life was simpler and easier for everyone then. Nobody lived in fear as they did when Summersilk was alive. Nobody's desires in life were unnecessarily challenged, and nobody felt as though there was an uncomfortable influence in their lives. The fact that the narrator's mother begins courting again so quickly might suggest to some that she may feel relieved that Summer Silk is no longer in her life. The narrator's mother can breathe again as too can Dhuki and the narrator. Also, by having Dhuki give his blessing to the narrator's mother's new suitor, the reader is left to feel as though things will be fine for Dhuki, the narrator and his mother. Thank you.